Welcome to the Snap UK podcast, your weekly residence for all the news, views and forthright opinions you need on the NFL. I'm joined in the doghouse this week by Gary, Jim, Paul and John. Say hello.
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 Hello. John without a microphone. It's a full house to discuss a very full schedule this week. Only the Ravens and the Raiders on the bye. We will also have to round up all the latest trade deadline day news. That, I believe, deadline passes sometime around now as we're recording. So might be some last minute activity or there may not. Plenty for us to get to as usual. So we're going to delve into the Week 8 slate first and then take a look at who's going where and why. Week 8 began last Thursday night with a great matchup between two Super Bowl favourites, the Cardinals hosting the Packers, and Green Bay come out on top 24-21 despite missing Devontae Adams and Alan Lazard through COVID.
And their defensive coordinator. They all went very well. Aaron Rodgers was brilliant, and this is why he wanted Randall Cobb back.
It did go very well, but they should still have lost the game.
Go on.
Well, the Cardinals threw a turnover with 13 seconds left on the clock to win the game.
I believe it's the only time Kyler Murray has thrown two interceptions without accounting for either a passing or running touchdown in his time in the NFL.
To be fair, that last interception wasn't on Kyler Murray.
No,
that was an AJ Green getting the play completely wrong and thinking it was a run play and blocking and not turning around at all.
No, and if he had turned around, he would have caught it and they would have won. So, yeah, unfortunate, but...
I know it's all small margins, but the Packers did play well, and I did pick the Packers to win, actually, that game. But the Cardinals had a shot and should have won that game.
Should have won the game, but the game plan for the Packers was brilliant. They had 37 minutes of possession. They leaned heavily on A.J. Dillon and Aaron Jones in the running game, and both of them contributed. A.J. Dillon was 78 yards and Aaron Jones, 59-year-old. 59 yards.
He's so elite, he's played for...
Yeah, exactly. Well. You wait until he's 59 and still putting on runs like that. And they just kept the ball away from the Cardinals. You know, Aaron Rodgers only threw for 184 yards in the end. So, yeah, while he played brilliantly, the game plan was to take it out of his hands and just drive that clock down.
I really think Dillon's helping this year because he's such a unit, isn't he?
Yeah.
Because Jones isn't that big, is he?
No.
He's elusive. He's a really good runner. But, Dillon takes some of that workload off him. You can take him out of the game more often because you've got confidence in him. Yeah. It's much better to have that, definite number one, but then with that really solid number two running backs made such a difference to
I think he's going to develop into kind of what we've seen in Dallas, where you've got Zeke, who's like doing the kind of in between the tackles, running hard, and then Pollard, who's that slightly more pacey receiving back type running back. Dillon's going to be the guy, when you want to wind the clock down, he's going to get 3-4 yards, destroy the defense, make it easier for the run, make it easier for Aaron Rodgers, and Jones is going to be out of the backfield causing havoc.
Oh, we're sure Aaron Jones is elite, yeah?
Quite positive.
Just checking.
Sometimes you just have to take your time on these things. like a nice bottle of port or something.
I wouldn't know. So the last undefeated team falls. I don't think this means a great deal for the Cardinals. As Gary's pointed out, really, this was a coin toss game right at the end, and they could have easily have won it had AJ Green spun round. I have no concerns. Not many teams go undefeated. This was bound to happen at some point.
Yeah, the biggest thing for the Cardinals now is that their injuries are starting to mount up. JJ Watt's now out for the rest of the season. Kyler Murray is now out for 1 to 3 weeks with a foot injury, I think it is. So depending on how long he's out for, they could...
Who's the backup?
I haven't got a clue.
After this week, does that matter anymore?
Well,
yeah,
we will get
Chase Daniels.
Is it Chase Daniels? It might be Chase Daniels. I really honestly haven't looked it up. I didn't realise Kyler was definitely out.
I thought they might have all the chases there.
No, I don't believe they have all the chases, but they may well
Jamar Chase.
Oh, yeah. They've got Chase Edmonds there.
They have, yeah.
So, yeah, Randall Cobb, that's his fourth touchdown of the season after Rodgers demanded that he was brought in. He hasn't had 4 touchdowns in a season since 2017. We're not even at the halfway stage yet. So this does work. This connection genuinely does work. So can we chalk that one up as a win to Aaron Rodgers?
I think he's better than the other ones that were there.
So
I'd rather have Randall Cobb than like Valdez Scantling.
Yes.
Juwan Winfrey had 4 receptions for 30 yards.
Doesn't he live next door to you?
He was, which is more yards than Randall Cobb, as he didn't catch any touchdowns.
I think it works fine when you've got Devontae Adams catching 130 yards and 11 targets a game. that works, doesn't it?
It feels like as long as somebody can step in once or twice a season on the games when he doesn't produce, that it doesn't really matter who it is.
He does well in the red zone as well.
Yes.
That's the other thing he has done well, gets separation quickly. So
it's a wide receiver quarterback combination, which we know works. And
it's Colt McCoy. Just saying. It's Colt McCoy. I mean, as backups go, he is a career backup. Drafted by the Browns in, 2012? And he's been a backup ever since.
To the right as a backup at the Redskins.
Yeah.
He was okay at the Giants.
Who? Sorry, I don't remember that team. That's not a thing.
Look, I don't care.
I'm with you, really.
Like the WFT are in just as much trouble as the Redskins name. Like, it really doesn't fucking matter.
It's very true. Both of these teams are going to be in the playoffs. There's a very good chance they meet again. I think this matchup could be a repeat, and it could be a coin toss again, because I think they are very, very well matched. The second primetime game of the week occurred Sunday night with the Cowboys taking on the Vikings. The Cowboys without Dak Prescott, who was pulled from the game 15 minutes before the start with a calf injury, I believe, which meant we got to see a debut for Cooper Rush. Don't worry, though, because Kirk Cousins pooped his purple pants in prime time again. And the Vikings...
It wasn't all on Kirk Cousins. Vikings defense.
No, a lot of it was on Mike Zimmer as well.
Yeah.
Nothing good about this team. Mike Zimmer is 2-5 coming off the bye. McCarthy is something like 12-2. Like, one of my first points here is we've been slagging off Mike McCarthy, but he does win. Like, he does win a lot of games. Like, should that just be enough?
I haven't been slagging off Mike McCarthy. No? I think Mike McCarthy's all right. I think
his time management's poor.
His time management's poor, and he doesn't look very professional. You know,
what are you trying to say?
Well, he looks like he's just like literally lobbed on a pair of slacks and just headed down to the ballpark. But you know,
won a competition to be the coach for the day.
Yeah, exactly. You know, you wouldn't like. You know, he's got some work to do on his branding. You know, that's all I'm saying. But you know, talking about like getting all his mates around to the garage and whatever else he comes out with. But he has won a Super Bowl, and that not a lot of coaches have done that. No,
it's not just the Super Bowl; it's the fact that he's won a lot of games. You can get lucky and win a Super Bowl, but you look at his record with Green Bay. Yes, he had Aaron Rodgers, but he wins. And now he's at the Cowboys. Last year, the defense was awful. Let's not forget the defense was awful. But with a decent team, he doesn't do anything other than win.
A lot of injuries on that defense last year as well.
Yeah, there were.
And there was no Dak as well.
Yeah, it put a lot of pressure on the defense because they couldn't
get off the field.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, but he made a great call bringing in Dan Quinn, who's ex-head coach, but a great defensive coordinator for Seattle in his day. So, and that's really turned around that defense. Yes, they've added an amazing player in Micah Parsons. That's made a big difference, but they've still got injuries as well. DeMarcus Lawrence is still out.
Yeah.
They're using Parsons as a pass rusher, and he's just
quite often. If you look at the defenses across the NFL, it's one or two pieces that make a massive difference, isn't it?
Yes.
Whether it's leadership or whether it's just somebody making those plays at the right time. It is just one or two pieces that most defenses are away from being very good. And that's why when one or two of them get injured, you see great defenses turn into average defenses very quickly.
Yeah, that's very true.
They bought some of the Falcons secondary with Dan Quinn, didn't they? In terms of Keanu Neal and DeMonte Casey?
Kazi.
The Kazi.
He's been DeKazi at times.
But they were great players. They understand Dan Quinn. They understand how he works. And I think that was quite smart by the GM as well.
Yeah. Let's talk Cooper Rush for a minute. There is no quarterback controversy. We know Dak is one of the best, and we're going to see in some other games, all backups have the chance to play well because no one has any film on them and they've not been preparing for them. However, second most yards passing on debut as a Cowboy. Can you name who was first?
Henry.
No.
Harry.
Close.
Hogby or something like
very, very close. Gary Hogboom.
1986.
1984. But well done. You've clearly been doing some reading. First time ever that the name of the first name of the quarterback and the surname of the wide receiver were the same in a connection on touchdown. There you go. Random one.
That is a really random
stat.
Yeah.
And Rush's 73-yard passing touchdown in the third quarter was the longest pass by a Dallas quarterback in their first career start since who in 1969?
Starbuck?
Yes. Like, this guy put up some numbers at the weekend. It just shows you it can be done.
It also shows that sometimes a system could be quarterback proof. If
Yeah.
the team's that good, the wide receivers are that good.
And that's the point. These wide receivers are that good. Here's one, though. Who is the only other Central Michigan player with a passing touchdown in the last 30 years? There's only one other player out of Central Michigan, and we know we're not very good at these college things after Jim's game, but only one other.
Alabama.
It's not Alabama. No, only one other player has a passing touchdown out of Central Michigan.
How many touchdowns did you throw in total?
One.
Lots. Oh, one. Right, no,
One.
we're never getting that.
And it's not a quarterback.
Yeah, I was guessing that.
Mohamed Sanu.
No, but you're on the right path.
Beckham.
No, he's in the league still, and he's playing on a very good team, and he won a Super Bowl last year.
Goodwin.
Evans.
Antonio Brown. He threw for a touchdown when he was at the Steelers. So, yeah, there's lots of things. Zeke became the fifth fastest player to 9,000 scrimmage yards as well. So, despite having
9,000 already.
9,000.
But there's a threat coming because Tyron Smith is injured.
Yes, Tyron Smith is injured. This does happen from time to time. And when that O-line struggles, we definitely see Dak's numbers go down. And more importantly, we see Zeke's numbers go down because he's really been back in the game this year after a down year last
He
year.
only got 50 yards this week, didn't he?
Yeah, and this is the thing. I'm not quite sure what the Vikings' plan was because surely once you see Dak not out there, you think, right, we just blanket the wide receivers. And they're already very good up the gut. Daniil Hunter's now injured as well for the Vikings.
I think they probably thought they're just going to give the ball to Zeke. So
yeah, maybe.
they're not going to trust him to throw the ball. I think that's probably what they thought.
Did every team have a coin toss at the beginning of this week? And whoever won the coin toss had a season-ending injury for one of their players.
It
Every
feels that
game
way.
has a season
We're going to go
injury.
through them, and it
There
does
is a
feel
few.
a bit that way. As a lot of players went down injured this week.
As well as Dallas were playing, Zimmer really fucked up right at the end, didn't he? His time management.
He
Cost-
called
he cost-
back-to-back timeouts, which you're not allowed to do. So then he was
Yeah.
penalised for doing that. I don't know what it is with Zimmer.
think he's done.
I think he's done. We said this before the season starts. If they don't make a run into the playoffs, I think he's done. He's just run out of whatever it is that you need as a coach. He's run out of it at the Vikings.
Enthusiasm.
Yeah, I mean, the offense is decent. Like I know we do, everyone derides Kirk Cousins, but he's having a good season.
Yeah, he is. Yeah.
It's the defense, and Mike Zimmer's a defensive coach.
The offense should be good, shouldn't it? Dalvin Cook, Jefferson,
it should be, but it
Thielen.
is. It's not
You know,
like
Cousins
you know,
is decent. You know,
and it is. But he's a defensive coach, and this defense is just terrible. Like you've given up 20 points and 325 yards to Cooper fucking Rush. Have a word.
Have a word. Mike Zimmer, have a word. I think that's fair. The reigning Super Bowl champs, the Tampa Bay Bucks, face a divisional matchup this week against the Saints on Sunday. And Sean Payton and co. took care of business 36-27. They have now beaten Brady 3 times in a row, which no team has ever done before. Last year, they became the first team to beat Brady twice in a regular season, by the way.
It's 3 times in a row. In
3
regular-
times in a
regular
row in
season
regular
games.
season. That is nuts that they're the first team to do that.
He's also Tom Brady's thrown 7 interceptions in 4 matches against the Saints in the last 2 seasons.
Yeah.
And thrown 13 in his other 24 games.
Yeah. They've just got his number. I don't know what it is, but they've got his number. Unfortunately for the Saints, this has cost them a quarterback. Jameis.
Not a very good one, though.
No, maybe not, but they've been winning with
he's
him.
been passable this year. He's not been amazing, but he's been okay.
He's
hasn't
been
he?
better than I thought he would be. I thought he'd be a turnover machine.
Is it because they're not making him play like Jameis Winston, though? Like, Jameis Winston is a fun quarterback who throws it up, and he's throwing 6-yard dink and dunks to
Is
no
it though?
one.
Is it though? Because like the quarterbacks get given a couple of plays to choose between based on.
I mean,
They don't just go out there and go.
He's got about
I'm
50
going to
plays."
lob the ball 40 yards. There is somebody calling plays. It's not Jameis.
They sit down and they go for a playbook, and he chooses 40 or 50 plays that they like. So, presumably that matches
But
his
in the
skill
match,
set.
in the match, they don't just. Oh, it's over to you now, Jameis.
No, I think he does from time to time call his own audible, and then inevitably it is, I'm going to throw it long. And do you know what? That has actually come off a couple of times this season. Like, there was a pass to Callaway the other week where he clearly was like, this is me, and he gets so excited. It's the 6-yard to 12-yard passes that he's not very good at.
Which is an issue when you've hardly got any wide receivers and your best playmaker is Alvin Kamara. Like the setup they've got and Jameis Winston don't match for me.
So
So you're saying this is good news?
Potentially, yeah. Well, look how well Trevor Siemian just did.
Well,
So this is what
day.
this is what I was getting at. So Trevor Siemian actually played very well, but Taysom Hill, you get the feeling he's now going to get his chance to start.
God, no. He's not a quarterback.
I reckon he will do. I agree with you. He's
Trevor
not a
Siemian's
quarterback.
more of a quarterback,
I
but
think Hill will probably get it, because why else would you pay him 12 million quid?
And he would have played on Sunday had he not had a concussion.
But yeah, I
But he'll
think
get another concussion because he's a running back.
I think Peyton has created a quarterback-proof system where you just need a bloke who can throw it 6 yards.
Yeah.
And Taysom Hill, he's more Jameis than Breeze. But yeah, I think the Peyton's genius is he can stick anyone in it.
But it's why Teddy Bridgewater looked so good in the Saints offense a couple of years ago. Because he's not asked to do much.
16 of 29 for 159 yards and a touchdown, Trevor Siemian. As a backup coming in middle of a game, I don't think you can do better than that, to be honest. I don't think, not knowing you're starting, I don't think there's much more you can do. He is definitely the better quarterback between him and Taysom Hill. But because of the money they've committed to Hill, and because it does confuse opposition defenses for a little while at least, maybe you're going to see a bit like we saw last season. You're going to see them both.
I was really pleased to see Kevin White
Yes.
playing for the Saints.
Yes, Kevin White's still in the league. Who knew?
That was his first catch in 3 years, was it?
What's the point?
When you've got no one else, you might as well.
I mean, it
Literally,
worked.
how much did he get paid for that?
Not only
Probably
did
not very much.
he had one catch, but he did have the most yards on that one catch.
Yeah.
38 yards, one catch, one target. I mean, why not? When your other options are Deontay Harris, Traquan Smith, and Marquez Callaway. Kevin White was a third, fourth overall pick. He was fifth overall pick. Oh, I'm sorry. No, he wasn't. Oh, he was fifth, and he's got like 24 career
Behind
catches. or
Amari
something.
Cooper in that year.
Just. He's had so much bad luck, but yeah, I mean, I don't think this makes a great difference to the Saints' season. If I'm honest, I really don't.
That defense is good enough to carry them. I mean, that's one of the best defenses in the league.
The defense is good. Lattimore's amazing, isn't he? He's having a much better season this year. But I think that's really harsh on Jameis to say that this doesn't affect them, because I don't think either of the others are feasible starting quarterbacks. Hill isn't, nor is Siemian. And Jameis has been a starter in the league for a number of years. If you start getting into the playoffs, then it makes a difference.
I'm not saying they're going to win the Super Bowl. I'm just saying.
No, you're not. But I'm saying you're saying it's not going to make a difference.
think
to
I'm
the
saying
outcome
they're a
of the season.
contender, Gary.
They're just a participant. Just a participant.
What I was saying was it doesn't make a difference to them getting to the playoffs. And say, and beyond that, I agree with you. I think the better quarterback tends to win in the playoffs. But this team is so good that I don't think it prevents them getting into the playoffs. Especially now they have a win over the Bucks as well. Like, that's going to help.
They're only a game behind the Bucks as well. They have 5-2. It's a decent record.
Quick word on Mike Evans. That was his 8th touchdown of the season. He only had 8 last season. So we're halfway through the year, and he's right there. He's always going to be one of the best wide receivers in the league. He's just in a team stuffed with brilliant pass catchers. Sometimes you just feel like he'd be better off somewhere else. Imagine if he was on the Saints, for instance. How good would that Saints team be with Mike Evans?
But you look at the stats. You got White on 38, Harris 35, Traquan 33, Garrett Griffin 30, Callaway 30. Mike Evans would end up with 30 yards.
Yes, possibly so. Before we move on from this team, quick round the table. John, lean yourself into a microphone. If you're picking to start a quarterback for the next 3 games, are you taking Taysom Hill or Trevor Siemian as the Saints?
Siemian.
Does it matter?
Get off the fence. Pick one.
They're both. I won't have either.
Just get off the
You've got to
fence.
get off the fence.
Siemian.
It's a one-word answer,
Gary.
man. How did you turn a one-word answer into 25?
Gary.
Siemian.
Yeah, Siemian.
And Siemian for me as well. So Taysom Hill will be starting next week for the Saints because we're terrible at this. Right. Elsewhere in the NFC South, the Panthers got themselves back on track a little bit with a fairly pedestrian 19-13 win over the Falcons. And Darnold does look so much better when he decides to rush. He had 66 yards rushing in this game, then got his clock cleaned out at one point, which was unfortunate. And now we're waiting to see whether he's fit to start next week. I hope he is, because PJ Walker looks
just bad.
He does not look NFL standard at all. The Panthers' defense, whilst they did concede a touchdown to Patson, they bottled him up better than most people have done, and that was the difference in this game. The Panthers' defense better than the Falcons' defense. That was it. We should talk briefly Calvin Ridley, who's made an announcement that he's stepping away from the NFL for the time being for personal matters related to his mental health. A lot of people say these days, rightly so, that this is a brave move to announce this and do it. It is, but the braver thing still is to actually take the time and don't feel pressured at any point to come back until you're ready. Because that's hard. That's a hard thing to do. If you see, like, this team does need me, you then start questioning, should I be looking after me? Should I be looking after my teammates? If he needs to take the rest of the season off, then that's it. It's no different to being injured as far as I'm concerned.
It is an injury. It's not a physical injury, is it? It's a mental injury. And I think we're now in a world where that should be acceptable. Right? Fair play to the Falcons for backing him, and fair play to Calvin Ridley for coming out and saying it and proving as another example of this is okay, this is normal. So yeah, I hope he does take the time, and I hope he does come back healthy and better than he was before.
Yeah, I'm not sure what they're going to do in his absence, but like Gary said, it's not like he's been amazing this season.
Oh, I've got one thing the Falcons will do in his absence: suck arse.
Yeah, their defense is bad. Like
it's not been good for years.
But nothing went right for them.
It's not been good since the Super Bowl, really, has it?
And even
well, end of the third quarter, maybe.
Even in that team, they were scoring 40 points a game. They were still conceding 25.
Yeah. It's never been a strength. They need to spend significant capital on it.
I don't think either of these teams are good. And I don't think that's a revelation. I just think you're looking at the top two teams in this division we've just talked about, Tampa Bay and the Saints, are streets ahead of the Panthers and the Falcons.
The Panthers with a fit CMC.
Yeah.
That's something.
But
he's not.
He's not. And is he ever going to be? No. Because apparently they were quite happy to chuck him into a trade for Deshaun Watson, weren't they?
There were rumours about it, yeah.
It was mentioned. I don't know. Like, Chuba Hubbard definitely isn't CMC, but at least he's on the field.
Does enough.
Just about. His first play was a fumble, which was like brilliant. I was in negative fantasy points before anything else had happened because it was his first play of the day.
Standard Sunday afternoon.
Yeah, it is pretty much that's how it works.
There is the outright star of fantasy, Royce Freeman, your favourite fantasy player of all time.
How many points did Royce Freeman have this weekend? None.
25 yards.
That's 2.5 points.
2.5 points, which would have been better than what I got out of Kenneth Gainwell this week, but we will talk about that later. Bloke's a tosser. Right, moving on from this shower of rubbish. Over in the AFC South, one of the best games of the season so far, the Titans virtually wrapped up the division with a 34-31 win over the Colts, but another star player was lost to injury as Derrick Henry broke a bone in his foot and has no definitive timeline for a return. What do we think about this win? Was this the overtime game of the week?
Yeah.
For me, it hinged on the fact that Carson Wentz was brilliant, 2 terrible interceptions. And that's all you can say.
It was an enjoyable game to watch.
It was a really good game to watch.
Yeah, and like Carson Wentz, he's thrown one interception before this game, and he just seemed to lose his mind at the end. Like, not only did he move the ball into his left hand and his right hand, did he then try to throw it from the back?
Yeah, that one was ridiculous.
He realised he was going to be taken out for a safety and just panicked and
there was
threw
a massive,
it straight into the opponent.
Eric Fisher was like the offensive tackle. He could have caught that ball, but completely whiffed it and decided not to go for it at all. So yeah, it would have been a penalty had he caught the ball because he's not an eligible receiver. But that would have been better than conceding a touchdown.
I was surprised this was so tight, if I'm honest, with the way the Titans have been playing. Because the last 2-3 weeks, now they've got AJ Brown fit and involved properly. They just look ridiculously good on offense.
They do.
With the balance, with Henry, it's just... But then obviously now Henry's
gone,
looking like he's gone for the season.
No, he's gone.
So I'll just be interesting to see what fear factor they'll have moving forward from this.
So... Let's mention then one of the signings that's been made this week. Adrian Peterson has been signed basically to replace Derrick Henry.
No,
well, he has.
He can't replace Derrick Henry.
But he has. That's what he's been signed for. It's not going to happen. They're going to have, what's his name?
Onto Foreman.
Onto Foreman, yeah.
Logan Woodside
as well.
And
McNichols
has actually been playing very well.
He had
no
rushing attempts on Sunday.
He's only got 12 on the season because Derrick Henry.
He's going to be fresh.
Yeah, and that's it. It's basically going to be running back by committee. I am really surprised that the Titans haven't approached the Colts and said, "Can we have Marlon Mack, please?"
The Colts wouldn't have given him, would they?
Why not? If you give up a 4th round pick for Marlon Mack, which is what they were asking,
you don't trade in your own division to make your
But it doesn't
Biggest
matter because the
competitor
Titans are
better.
so far ahead now.
But when it's a team 3 games ahead of you and done a season sweep of you, you can get something out of it.
Yeah, that's it. Marlon Mack basically isn't going to play for
I
them.
still don't think you'd ever take the risk.
No,
I don't think it's the risk. I just think people aren't quite as friendly as we think they might be.
Yeah,
No,
exactly.
no, of course not. No, I'm sure they're not. But
I could never see the 49ers and the Seahawks trading a player. And I think it's the same in that league. I don't think you can see the Titans and Colts ever trading a player.
I can see the Texans trading anyone you wanted.
Like Tim's got a good point because I hate the Seahawks so much I don't have any of them in my fantasy teams this year.
Jonathan Taylor rushing touchdown 5 straight games, which is the longest streak for an Indianapolis player since who in 2005?
Adrian James.
Yeah.
Yes,
Trying to think of
absolutely.
his name.
Well, that was the whole game.
That was the whole game. Yeah, I had it, and then
I love
didn't.
you, Sporkle.
Oh, brilliant. You mentioned that the Colts haven't been playing. You're surprised it's so close. I thought the Colts have been playing really well up until this game. And I think even in this game, they played well. The defense has been really strong.
I think they have been playing well, but the Titans have been destroying some great teams, haven't they?
Well, they've beaten
the Chiefs.
Yeah, and the Bills.
And the
They-
Bills.
They've played
yeah.
really well. They also
They've
lost to
played
the
very
Jets.
Yeah.
Yeah, in the first game of the season.
No.
Third game of the season.
Was it third?
Yeah.
I knew it was early on.
But regardless, the Titans, they have a habit of occasionally shitting the bed. The Colts just can't get out their own way. 211 passes went to throw him without an interception. And then he threw 2 in 14. And it just felt like another typical Colts game where they're just not quite good enough to execute what they need to do.
I like the way USA Today have described this as just events gone events.
and it's true. This is the sort of player he is. I don't think him and Jared Goff are that far apart in terms of talent, if I'm honest. The two of them came out 1 and 2. I think they could have gone either way around and their careers would have been virtually identical to what they have
Careers
been.
are identical. They've both lost a Super Bowl and they've been traded.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, nothing is different. So, I don't know.
Just distinctly average.
The Titans, surely, even without Henry, can't piss this division away, right? You got the Jags and the Texans in there.
Now they've played the Colts twice. Yes,
Yeah,
they can't
that's
piss
it.
this
I
division
think-
away.
That's what
I
I
think
mean.
that's a
They're
great
just
point,
so
yeah.
far up. It's crazy.
But I don't. Whereas I thought they might be kind of 11, 12, 13 wins. I don't think they're getting up to that anymore.
Well, are they 3 games ahead?
Yeah, they're 3 games ahead. I think they will win, but I'm saying I don't think they're going to win by a lot.
All I'd say is there's a long way to go in this season
Well, yeah.
with the extra game. So what was decisive lead maybe last year, I think the Colts, without Henry, there might be time to pull that back.
So you're saying there's a chance the Giants could make the playoffs?
No.
Right. Okay.
Do you want to hand your money over now? We'll get to them.
If not, we might start charging interest.
We'll get to them. Over in the AFC East, the Jets notched up a second impressive win of the season, only a second win of the season, as they downed the much-fancied Bengals 34-31 with Mike White on debut. Anyone remember where Mike White was prior to this season?
Cowboys.
Yeah.
He had been on the Cowboys practice squad for 2 years. The Jets traded for Joe Flacco last week, then promptly started Mike White when it turned out Joe Flacco's probably not really in any position to play.
The highlight of this game was seeing Flacco on the sideline, just his brow.
Did you see the image of him in the press conference where he got shown off? He just looks so fucked off. He really did not want to be there.
I don't think he really wanted to be traded back to the Jets in the first place. That was definitely the impression I got. Mike White played really well. Again, I bring up the fact that when you're a backup, no one's got tape on you. No one's ever seen a tape of Mike White. Mike White's family haven't seen tapes of Mike White. No one cares. But you can't do any more with a shocking team than he just did against a really good defence, the 5th-rated defence in the league.
They even in the press conference, the team called him Mike effing White.
Did they really?
Yeah.
I thought he played as well as anyone of the weekend. We just said a guy won £125,000 by betting on him to be the lead passing yardage quarterback of the weekend. 405 yards he had.
Well, if you think about it, that's actually quite smart betting based on Zach Wilson.
Go on.
Just he's turgid.
Well, this is the point that Jim and I were making watching at the weekend. That it was like he had 2 interceptions before he threw any touchdowns, but it was just like watching Zach Wilson. Only Zach Wilson dips during the games once he starts playing badly, he goes down. And this guy was like, "Oh no, I'm still here for probably my only game of the season." So
Exactly. He's got absolutely nothing to lose, whereas Zach Wilson's coming in as a 2nd-round pick, and all the pressure on him to kind of turn around an ailing franchise.
2 quarterbacks have 400 or more yards on debut. since 1950. Yep. Who's the other one?
Cam Newton.
Cam Newton. That's who we're talking about here. Who was the last 400-plus yard passer for the Jets?
Vinny Testaverde.
In
1999?
2000, but close enough. I mean, like, they've been terrible for years. So, like, the guy just...
That's impressive, but why do you know that much about the Jets?
No, a lot
they
of
sat
shit.
talking about it on Sunday.
We did sit talking about it. We're very sad. We sent Jim's kids out to get Halloween trick-or-treat for us, and then they came back and we sat there eating their mini Mars bars while watching Red Zone. It was wonderful, really.
It was the most first downs the Jets have had since 1986.
I mean, that's pretty deep.
Combined. Literally combined.
Yeah. Probably. You can't say, like you said, they've got no one's got any tape on Mike White. No one knew who he was before last week. If we would have sat here 2 weeks ago and said, who's the backup to Zach Wilson? We would have gone, yeah.
John, help.
We'd have immediately sat here going, Chase Daniel?
Chase
Colt
McCoy.
He's at the Rams, by the way.
So, he's taking his opportunity. He even caught a touchdown pass.
Why don't they?
2 point.
I just don't understand why they take these quarterbacks from college and presume that they're NFL ready straight away. And this
madness.
is where they go wrong. They invest so much in these players, so much of their future, and then they just go, there you go, they're the Wolves.
Yeah, I mean that's a fair point. And like we're lauding the Jets and we're lauding Mike White, but there is a fundamental failure of the Jets here in that they didn't have a good, apparently they got a good backup, but they didn't have an experienced backup to Zach Wilson in a rookie year.
Because if you think even with Tua, and nobody's saying that Tua's going to be the future necessarily, but Miami have given him a chance because I know he'd been injured, a bit last season, this season, but they still planned to sit him behind Fitz, didn't they, last year? For most of the season. The Niners are still trying to sit Lance, despite all of
Justin Fields was supposed to sit behind Andy Dalton. It was terrible. Yeah, I think players do benefit. And do you know what? This injury might be the best thing that happens to Zach Wilson because he was getting crushed and he wasn't improving. I wasn't joking when I said as soon as he starts to play badly in a game, we saw him in London. And as soon as he threw a bad pass, this whole game just went down the toilet.
So you think in terms of getting experience that Wilson will have? Mike White's been watching NFL games on the side for 3 years.
Yeah.
That's an invaluable experience.
It's actually not a great seat that close. You can't see fuck all.
But he's going to see more than Zach. He's going to see more of the NFL than Zach Wilson has.
But he's been practicing as well against NFL
better up in
players.
the gods though.
Look, it's worked out well, and I'm never pleased to see anything good for the Jets, but this was nice to see. Let's talk Jamar Chase briefly before we move on. 786 yards, the most receiving yards by any player through the first 8 games of the season since the 1970 merger. Wow. I mean, come on, we're talking, name some, like Jerry Rice, like we're talking massive players. Randy Moss that have set records, and he's the best. Like, this is incredible. It's the fact that he plays in the Bengals means people are just sort of letting it drift past them.
I don't think people are letting it drift past them now. I think, with the Bengals playing well, with Burrow playing well, and Jamar Chase apparently been the key that's unlocked here, I think he's rightly regarded as, offensive rookie of the year. Now, I can't think of anyone else.
You get over 200 yards in one game.
Yeah.
It obviously helps those kind of stat lines, doesn't it? Because that's a massive game. It just increases your whole season average. So be interesting to see how he goes through the rest of the season as it gets more serious. Because that's a tight division, and those games could get tighter and tighter as the year goes on.
Well, we're going to get to that in a second.
Haven't the Bengals always kind of built their plan for the last 20 years around one great receiver and some others?
No, but they've not got that, have they? T. Higgins is a great wide receiver.
No, but I know you wouldn't build a team around T. Higgins, would you?
Well, no, but you'd definitely have him as a wide receiver too. The Giants would build a team around him.
I just think, do you see what they did with Chad? They had Ochocinco, Chad Johnson previously with Carson Palmer. They had Dalton with AJ Green. I couldn't name another receiver that was alongside those guys.
No, that's a fair point. 2 other things that annoy me about this game, though. One was the ridiculously brilliant catch from Keenan Cole for that touchdown, which was ruled not a catch, which was just utter bullshit. Like that catch.
The ball moved from his grasp of his hands, but it never touched the ground. He tucked it up with his knees. But they said that he didn't maintain control, so it didn't count. Now, I understand as the rule is written, of course that's correct. But it was an amazing catch, and if you prevent the ball from hitting the ground, surely that should be enough. In the end zone as well, surely that should be enough.
I don't think there's any other sport where catching is such a big part of the game where the ball doesn't hit the ground, it's a catch. That literally should be the rule. Does the ball hit the ground? No, it's a catch. The other big thing that really annoyed me about this game was the penalty for the head-to-head contact, which went against the Bengals. Even though
the offensive player,
it was offensive player which ducked into it, initiated the contact.
So the defensive player was clearly trying to hit him with his shoulder, and then the offensive player twisted as well.
The defensive player leant down and headbutted him.
Yeah, that's annoying. It's unfortunate because it's not reviewable. Because if you reviewed it, you'd see clearly the way around it happened. But at full game speed, you can see why it was given that way.
Shouldn't everything be reviewable?
But it would make the game so long.
Forever.
The game would take forever, yeah.
The game does take forever.
True.
I'd rather it be right.
Yeah, but they've already added in, into the fourth quarter, loads of stuff gets reviewed now, doesn't it? Automatically. There's people reviewing it in New York all the time anyway.
As an opposing view to it should all be reviewable. I just think that the people on the field should be better at getting that right. There's enough of them.
Oh, and just, sometimes people get shit wrong. It's part of sport, isn't it?
Talking of people getting things wrong, Zach Taylor's challenge early in the first half for Mixon, I think it was on a first down early in the first half. I just thought it was a ridiculous challenge to make because Mixon looked like he'd gone. He was like from the 1 yard line, didn't really look like he'd gone in.
Oh, for the touchdown?
Yeah.
Yes.
And then they went in.
There was just no need. Yeah, there was no need at all.
So you lost a challenge, which could have been useful.
Yeah.
And then you lost a timeout, which is more useful at the end of the
Sorry,
half.
you're right. Yeah, it was completely
that's
unnecessary.
That's almost worse because they've obviously reviewed that on the video up in the booth anyway, and they've gone, yep, you should challenge this. So, all right, yes, it's Zach Taylor's challenge. You can't necessarily blame him because he's probably been told you should challenge this, and someone's got it wrong. Bad call, though.
Very bad call. The Jets' divisional opponents had differing days, with the Patriots finally beating someone not named the Jets as they overcame the Chargers 27-24, and the Bills eventually rolling over the Dolphins in a turgid game 26-11. Where do you want to start with these two games in the AFC East? I thought it has to be pointed out, Bill Belichick against young quarterbacks. This is the two worst games for Herbert have both been against Patriots.
I was reading, there's an article I was reading before we started where Herbert said after the game, said we practiced going against the Patriots playing a cover two, and they just changed the system completely to something they've never done all season.
They just. He looked so confused.
Yeah,
it was. But I at one point was throwing my toys out the pram because we keep fumbling. That's 6 times we fumbled the ball this season. We only fumbled it 5 times all last season, and we looked like we were going to throw it away again. And then they went back to what the Patriots should be doing, which is the running game, short pass, field goal. Because we get into strike range. How many field goals did Folk score in this game? 4, 5? Yeah. Like it was all field goals.
The last drive was brilliant. What was it? Something like 7 minutes off the clock, 14 plays for 54 yards.
Yeah, it was no gain at all. It was just brilliant. Pick up the first down and stop.
Yeah.
And it's exactly what New England should be doing. For me, this is, we didn't beat the Bucks and we didn't beat the Cowboys in games where they finished as 1-score games. The Chargers are in the next level of teams down, and that's who we should be competing with.
I'll tell you what, the AFC from kind of 6th
to 12th, 13th,
just it's anyone's.
Where are the Patriots?
Game.
About 8th or 9th now?
So I think you're 8th at the moment, with the Chargers in 7th, but then the Steelers in 6th.
Yeah.
But then behind you, or level with you, are the Chiefs and the Browns.
Yeah.
So literally 2 out of those 5.
And if you'd have told me we were going to be in that group at the halfway stage, I'd have bitten your hand off because I just didn't think we'd be this competitive.
You have played the Jets twice.
Yeah, absolutely. You can only play your schedule, but you are right. But if you look at our schedule second half of the season, it's not that hard.
A team that have beaten the Bengals and the Titans.
Yeah, I mean, Paul makes a fair point. Technically, we're better than both of those teams, right? That's what you're saying.
I wouldn't have... On paper, last
Scotland
week,
won the World Cup in 1967. Brilliant.
I would have had the start of on Sunday. I would have had the Chargers beating the Patriots all day. I think they're a better team.
Where was it? It was in Foxborough,
in Los Angeles.
It was in Los Angeles.
Los Angeles as well.
Yeah.
Well, LA, that's like an away game for them.
Well, they did point out there may have been more Patriots fans there. They reckon most LA residents are cheering for the Rams.
Well, there's a good chance good chance the Chargers won't actually be there soon anyway. With all the legal stuff going on with that.
Probably just opened a new training centre there, like a
today.
£40 million training.
Yeah. So Phillips had a pick 6 against the Chargers, who he played for 5 seasons.
Got cut about 7 times.
He did. He only ever had 1 pick 6 for the Chargers in his time there. He's adding 2 for us now, so that's good. I don't know what to say about the Chargers other than, like you said, they were undone by Belichick just changing the plan. I have no concerns with the Chargers. Austin Eckler looks amazing. If there was something I would have changed beyond the fumbling issue, tackle Austin Eckler. The number of times he went through 4 or 5
opposing player. Good coaching.
But even you saw it. Like he was just bouncing off players and not getting brought down. It was crazy. On another day, he racks up 2 or 3 touchdowns doing that. So
I think that Chargers team, though, it's a new coach, isn't it? And still a young quarterback.
Yep.
And they've got some tough games. So I think
it's a really good team with a learning curve.
They're probably going to end up 10-7.
Yeah, 11-6, something like that. It's going to
get them into the playoffs.
You would think.
The Chiefs don't improve, yeah.
Well, yeah, and that's it. The Bills, they've won 12. Well, their 12 straight victories have all been by 10 points. Obviously, they've lost a couple of games in there, but the victories have all been by 10 or more points, which is the first time they've done that as a team, which is quite impressive. I don't know what else you can say about this Bills team, to be honest with you. Like, they should have hammered the Dolphins. The Dolphins weren't good. Tua played okay, and it looks like the pressure's off. We're going to get to the trades, but basically the Dolphins have said they're not shopping him and they're not bringing in Deshaun Watson, which I think is the right move.
I think we'd all agree with that.
I don't think Tua's the problem. The defense is a problem. They're just doing nothing, and it's the same every week. We've had this conversation every week, including the first week where they actually beat us. Like, they look terrible, and the Flores message has gone out the window.
7th time in a row that the Bills have beaten the Dolphins.
Is it really?
7th time in a row.
Yeah, and Diggs finally got a touchdown.
Did he?
Stephon Diggs got a touchdown.
He scored. Was that his first one of the year?
I think it was his first one of the year, wasn't it?
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
The Bills in their last 12 wins have won by more than 10 points.
Did I not just say that?
Yeah, you did.
I mean, I did just say that out loud. I didn't just say it in my head.
Oh, I saw the stat as well.
Yeah.
I wasn't listening.
He was looking for stats.
How come you always hear it when I insult you, but you don't hear it when I say something of value?
I love how my technique of just not listening to everyone else is spreading across the group.
So we were going to talk about the fact that they haven't traded Tua, weren't we?
The Bills are going to win this division, right? Nobody's saying the Patriots are going to beat them. No. Okay, no, that's fine. I just want to check.
To be fair, though, I think the Patriots are now well within the playoff hunt, and I think they could very seriously get there. I know you're looking a bit.
I think it's like Gary's already made the point of the teams
Colts,
around.
Right? The Colts are 3-5, and we all think the Colts are having a good renaissance.
Yeah.
And they're 4 spots back in the hunt. The Chiefs are behind the Patriots. It's so tight.
So I was looking at this. So of the 32 teams in the NFL, 25 have at least 3 wins at the moment. And I think 4 of them are 3-5. So out of 21 out of 32 teams are 1 game under 500 or better.
Yeah.
So I've never seen a season like it. You've got a couple of really bad teams.
And how much do you think
spread?
The league making the 7th spot from each conference, and adding the extra week keeps a lot more intrigue later into the season? It's a bit like you lot bitching about going out of the fantasy league, so we have to put an 8-team playoff together because you're all bitch about.
I never bitched about that.
I don't want to play.
I think it was only Chase that bitched about it.
Chase.
Yeah.
I lost to Chase, so I ain't saying shit.
I don't bitch. It wouldn't make it. You could have all 10 teams make it, and I won't make it.
But I think you'll get into those last 2 or 3 games of the season, and they will be almost like mini playoff games going on.
Yeah, play-in games is what they'll be.
I also think that's a good reason, and I will talk about trades later. I think that's a good reason why we've not seen as many trades as we normally do, because you can't expect a GM or coach to walk into the locker room. You're 3-5. You're still well within a chance because of the way the team's spread out, and say, "Oh, we're getting rid of all these players, and we're gonna start rebuilding." You're basically throwing up the white flag, which is what Denver have done. I think that's a key reason why we've not seen as many trades as perhaps we would have done years past, and maybe the trade deadline has to shift back a bit.
Following the Bengals' unlikely loss, the matchup between the Browns and the Steelers looked even more significant. And despite his woes this year, Ben continued his dominance of Cleveland in a narrow 15-10 win. He does. 24-2-1, his career record against Cleveland. That's pretty rough. That's not ideal.
He should have tweeted that to Aaron Rodgers after I fucking own you.
Well,
I own Cleveland.
He does as well. I mean, it's only been recently that he's now not the most winningest quarterback in Cleveland.
Is it now Baker?
Yeah, it's now Baker.
That's disappointing. I was on the bring back Keenum train this week because Baker Mayfield is not fit.
No,
he's clearly not fit.
But I don't think it was on him, this loss.
It wasn't just on him, but he's not fit.
No.
Why are they starting him? Like what?
Silence. No one really knows.
No one knows.
I don't think we do know. I think there were moments on Sunday, I think, when he had a run for a first down, he kind of G'd up the crowd, G'd up the whole team.
Oh, when he got wiped out on a late hit?
Absolutely wiped out on a late hit, but just like got straight back up.
Yeah. I was just amazed. With something like your shoulder, why are you risking that? When Keenum did a perfectly passable job. I just literally didn't think he'd be playing.
No, I didn't.
I had no idea he was going to play. So, yeah, random.
It really was. Nothing really went well for the Browns, if I'm honest. Like, their defence didn't really show up that well either. But I don't get why they're not, and they haven't traded Odell Beckham, because he's not doing anything good for the team. The deadline has passed. He hasn't moved.
Maybe no one wants him.
And didn't LeBron James put out a tweet as well saying
free OBJ?
Free OBJ, yeah.
Yeah, he did. I don't know. I just don't get it. There is no connection there between Baker and OBJ. It does not exist.
No.
I mean, he is kind of a free OBJ because it will cost the Browns nothing to get rid of him, and no one wants him because why would you? He's been injured for 2 years, and now he looks unfit and a shell of the player.
Is it 29? Yeah, is it career over though?
No, he's 29. There's still some tread on the tyres.
Is there though?
It doesn't look like it. He doesn't look like
Des Bryant. That's who he is.
Yeah, Des Bryant's still only 30 now. He's not in the league.
Des Bryant is carrying less injuries.
Yeah, I don't think he is even Des Bryant. I think it's worse.
Yeah, but my point is, Des Bryant a year ago couldn't get a game, could he? No. And he went to the Saints, then he got injured again. Beckham is doing nothing. He's never been the same player since that knee injury at the Giants.
I guarantee now we've all said this and dissed him. He's going to turn up at the Saints and be absolutely amazing again.
Yeah. 3 touchdowns. Yeah, it'd be amazing. The Steelers' D's just keeping them in the hunt, right? Like Big Ben didn't have to do a lot to keep up his dominance over Cleveland.
No, did enough. And the offensive line actually played pretty well as well.
First time this season.
First time they've played well. Najee Harris, I think, is the only competitor to Jamar Chase for Offensive Rookie of the Year. He's having a great season as a starting running back.
Yeah, he's getting better every week.
Yeah, he's getting lots of carries, but that's just because that's the team. That's the team that the Steelers are now. It's defensive and it's a running game to try and drive down the clock.
And the Browns are not the same without Hunt and Chubb.
Exactly. What team would be? Dearness Johnson scored again, though, didn't he?
He did, but because they've got a decent offensive line now, but they're nothing because they can't put it all on Baker. They've never been able to put it on Baker. No. And when you look at that division now as well, the Browns have played their 8 games. They haven't had a bye week yet. And the Ravens are already a game ahead. They're bottom of that division. And we all thought the Browns were a certainty for the playoffs at the start of the season. And now you just don't know who's coming out of that division at all.
Don't the Browns have less throwing, catching touchdowns than Mike Evans?
I think you might be right. I don't think they've got many. It's all on the ground.
But in terms of the ground, they had, Demetric Fulton got 2.74 metres.
That's brilliant.
Thank you for that analysis, Paul. Back again next week.
Me done, thanks.
Glad to see you're paying attention. Yeah. So it's Ravens 5-2, Bengals 5-3, Steelers 4-3, Browns 4-4. 0-1 in the division as well. The only other team that have got a losing record in the division are the Ravens, and they're top, so it doesn't matter. Whoever doesn't come out of this division, it's going to look bad, but you've got to bear in mind how good the division is.
If the Browns do not get to the playoffs, Baker is not getting a big contract.
I don't think he's getting a big contract.
I know we don't, but he's got no chance.
He'll get extended. He'll get extended either way.
I think they might have the option of him to take him to another 5th year and see what happens in that.
You can win with him, you just can't win because of him.
Yeah, I think
that's the difference.
Can we talk a little bit about Chris Boswell getting taken out of the game?
Oh man, Chris. Yeah, so So you've got Chris Boswell, who's one of the top 5 kickers every year in the league and has been for about 5 or 6 years.
Decent. Yeah.
And you decide you're going to run a fake field goal with Chris Boswell.
I mean, it was terrible play in the first place.
It was a terrible play. It was a terrible play call. Chris Boswell then gets absolutely shithoused by the defender, gets wiped out and is clearly concussed, laying on the floor, looking up the sky, wondering, what are those fluffy things in the sky?
But there was no penalty flag.
No, there was no flag.
If he was an actual in that moment, he was a quarterback. But if he was an actual quarterback, there'd have been about 1 million
Should have been
flags
roughing the passer, and
Yeah.
it wasn't. But this actually contributed to the Steelers winning because they then had to go for it on 4th downs. They then had to go for it for touchdowns.
There's no penalty for ending a man, is there?
Eviscerating someone. But did you see the size of the punter they trotted out to attempt kickoffs?
Presley Harvin.
Yeah, man, he's a
was a
beast.
big boy.
Now, what they should have done is tried a fake field goal with him because no one wiping him out. He's like a bus with legs. But yes, I'm glad you brought that up. That was one of the highlights of the weekend for me. Right, 2 teams getting themselves.
Hang on. So I've got one more thing.
Well, go on.
Because Mike Tomlin,
Yeah, Mike
often
Tomlin.
underrated, he has now matched Bill Cowher for wins in his career. So
Really?
Mike Tomlin, 15 years, 149 wins, 89 losses, and a draw. And Bill Cowher, 15 years, 149 wins, 90 losses, and a draw. So almost identical records over a 15-year period.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive. Like 2 UFC fighters. That's what that sounds like. The Chiefs getting themselves back in the sort of the right direction this week. And also the Broncos, getting themselves back on the right direction. Let's start with the Monday Night Football game. Chiefs over Giants, 20-17 in an unconvincing victory. Where to start with this one? John and Paul. Daniel Jones looked good again.
Daniel Jones isn't the problem.
No.
Jason Garrett is the problem.
You reckon? Go on.
For many, many years.
Yeah.
This is a team that's brought in many different options. We've made improvements.
A lot of injuries.
Yeah, there's injuries, but we've made improvements to the O-line. We've made improvements to the wideout room.
Yeah.
Okay, without Saquon Barkley, we're a different team, and I appreciate that. But we should be scoring 30 points sometime, right?
Yeah, you'd think most teams would. Only 2 teams had not scored 30 points in 2020, and that was the Eagles and the Jets, and they've both done it this season. But the Giants are now the next team that have scored 30 points the least.
We have the worst record in football since that boat photo. We're 20-52 since that boat photo.
Awful team. Breaking news, Deshaun Jackson's been released from the Rams.
Yeah.
But just,
I mean, that was going to happen.
With breaking news as well, with the Chiefs,
Yeah.
they've traded Devontae Tardif
Yeah.
for a tight end.
Which tight end?
Dan Bird from the Jets.
Never heard of him.
I don't get that on many reasons. A, because why don't you have a tight end?
What
And
are
B,
they trying to do?
the offensive line is the biggest weakness you've got at the moment. Why weaken it even more by sending out a player? I think if the New York Giants were 10% better than they were last night, they would have won this game pretty handily.
Not even that. I mean, they trying to be nice here.
Don't be nice.
Don't be nice. Be John.
I think I'm worried about the Chiefs because there's no way this Giants team should have been that close to a good Chiefs team, and the Chiefs are really stuttering. It's not fun to watch anymore. They started the game really well because Mahomes was getting the ball out. He was getting it out quickly, but
Got picked off again, didn't he? Seventh
Again,
game this season.
It wasn't his fault.
9 interceptions.
it kind of was his fault. He forced it.
Hold on. They have just traded for a running back, haven't they?
Who, the Chiefs?
No.
Oh, they're not?
No. They've traded for a defensive end. The other Ingram.
Yeah,
the
they
other
brought-
Ingram.
Yeah.
I
No,
just
Mark
saw
Ingram went to the Saints. Melvin Ingram's just turned up at the Chiefs.
At the
and
Chiefs.
the
Are you
Steelers.
thinking of Melvin Gordon as well?
No.
Because I read Melvin Gordon.
Well, you're all sorts of wrong then, aren't you?
Yeah.
Back on track.
So we
back
don't
on
listen
track.
to each other.
But yeah,
You know the Bills have a really good.
Logan Ryan as well could have had a pick on him as well. But the thing that killed the Giants was the penalties.
Yeah, I was about to
penalties. It was
Both
2 men.
teams, though.
Both teams. The
Both
Chiefs-
teams were bad.
12 for the Chiefs.
Yeah.
How many for the Giants?
10 for the Giants.
Just crazy. Neither team. I mean, all right, the Giants are 2-6, but to be 2 games back at the halfway point of the season on Kansas, you'd think that the Giants would be like 4-4 and the Chiefs would be 6-2.
Yeah.
The fact that the Chiefs, like you say, are this poor, they're not going to overcome a lot of teams. They're making too many mistakes. And Patrick Mahomes is forcing it. John's right. I know a lot of the interceptions this season have come off players' hands, but they've also been thrown into tiny windows where there's two defenders standing around waiting to pick off the bouncing ball. Yeah. And I don't know why he feels the need to do it, other than what's the running game?
He also, like on last night, his average per play was 5.7 yards. It took him to the third quarter to throw a pass that was longer than 10 yards. Yeah. That's not the Mahomes we know.
Do you not think that's because he's trying to rein it in?
No, because there were a lot of wide receiver screen passes. Mecole Hardman quite often was kind of getting the ball behind the line of scrimmage and asked to run. Where's Tyreek Hill with like the long range bombs nowadays?
Because I think that he's having to throw it so quickly, possibly because
the offensive line is
so bad, and like as well, they're one of the least blitzed teams in the league because you don't need to blitz them, and as well, if you blitz them, Tyreek Hill will just run past you. But the defense really bottled in Tyreek Hill and Kelsey, and
Giants' defense has been sneaky.
If you do that, they've got fuck all else.
Yeah.
Josh Gordon isn't there yet. He's Hardman had a decent game, but yeah, I know Kelsey scored and whatever, Hill scored, but I think Hill got 70 yards or something.
94 yards. Travis Kelce got 27 yards, which is his worst performance for 5 years.
Wow.
It's 94 yards, but it's an average of 7.8.
Yeah, it's
per
there was no explosive play like you normally get. I thought the Giants did fine.
We're our own worst enemies again.
Yeah, and this is an ongoing problem. And I feel I see you guys every week, and you're like, oh my god. But I think there's plenty of building blocks. I just don't know when you're going to get to a point when they all come together. I thought this might be the year because your wideout group was so good, and yet it's made no difference.
And as well, Shepard's injured, and Tony is questionable for next week as well. So that'll be.
You shouldn't even be playing him if there's even a slight question.
It's because you've got no fucking else.
Yeah.
And sadly,
no one's doing anything next week.
No one's coming for Ingram. He needs to go.
Yeah, Ingram does need to go. It doesn't look like you're moving him on at all. No.
I was impressed with Booker D.
Yes, Booker D played very well. Yeah. I don't think he's done badly at all in stepping up for Saquon. The point is he's not Saquon.
130 scrimmage yards. I'll take that from any running back.
Yeah, he was decent.
Absolutely.
Can I say I got very excited when Gore scored a touchdown for the Chiefs. I thought I'd missed some big news at Frank Gore. Yeah. Unfortunately, it was Derrick Gore.
Future Hall of Famer Derrick Gore there. Yeah, absolutely. Elsewhere, so the Broncos, they beat what the fuck at the weekend, 17-10. This was a god-awful game that the Broncos tried to throw away.
We were sitting there watching Red Zone, and I think I turned around to Griffin at one point and said, this could feasibly end up 0-0.
Yeah, it did. It was 0-0 for ages, and then somebody scored, and we were really disappointed that it was 0-3. And then right at the end, the Broncos should have comfortably put this away, and they just stopped playing. They just were like, oh, maybe we'll just let them back in, go to overtime, see what happens. These two teams are not good.
Can we just not talk about this game?
We don't have. There's not much else to say other than I don't think Teddy Bridgewater's the problem. It's the team's direction in general.
A bad team, and Washington, that defense is just not what we expected to be at all.
J.D. McKissick is the only what the fuck player who's actually stepping up and playing at his level.
Yeah,
Terry McLaurin is not contributing that much.
I feel for Terry though because I wouldn't want to be playing with that quarterback. He's shit.
Taylor Heineke, he's not good enough.
Yeah, absolutely. We can move on quickly from that one. We opened the show talking about the Cardinals' loss. One of the teams looking to play catch-up in the NFC West are the 49ers, who eventually eased to a 33-22 win against the Bears, as both Jimmy G and Justin Fields showed a little bit of what they can do. This was one of Jimmy G's best games following last week's worst performance for the 49ers. Thought he played all right. There were 0 punts and 0 turnovers for the 49ers, which is a rarity against the Bears team. It's only the second time since 1960 that they've not had one of those.
They had no Mac, did they? No Khalil Mack.
No, they had no Khalil Mack. And I thought the 49ers...
No Matt Nagy either, which helped.
No, yeah, we were saying Justin Fields looks way better without Matt Nagy there on the sideline. He absolutely does. Elijah Mitchell stepping up for you guys, though.
Yeah.
At the running back position, doing very well.
I don't know, it's always difficult to tell, isn't it? Because we've said it a lot. Shanahan in the running game, it just works. I think, yes, Elijah Mitchell will get the headlines because he had 137 yards and a touchdown, but the offensive line was just awesome. Like Jimmy G wasn't touched. And that, if Jimmy G has got time, like any quarterback, he's going to make plays. And Elijah Mitchell benefits from that offensive line as well. Big shout out to Deebo Samuel, who has quietly amassed quite a season. It's his third 150-yard game. And
what's he on? 800 yards or something for the season already?
On
819.
Yeah, he's passed Jerry Rice to have the most yards after 8 games.
Mad
franchise history.
He's been great, hasn't he? And I think, a week ago we all said Niners got no chance.
Yeah.
But with the Seahawks being as bad as they've been recently, actually, if there's no, we've got the Cardinals next week.
Potentially without Kyler Murray.
At the Levi
If
Stadium.
you play a Colt McCoy-led Cardinals, you can
before
easily win
it, we could be back in the hunt if Jimmy G stays fit. It's all about Jimmy G because he is consistent enough to get us to the playoffs.
Yep.
If you look at it, our next five games, Cardinals, like we said, without Kyler Murray, that could be a win. Rams, all right, probably going to lose that. Then we've got the Jaguars, Vikings, and Seahawks.
Yeah.
They're all winnable games.
Yeah, you could be right back in the mix.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what, next week's fixtures, are we on the last game now?
No. But go on, you can do next week's fixtures.
There's just some crazy fixtures.
Are we on the last game now? He's got the same fucking script as everyone else.
I don't read the script.
He doesn't read the script. He doesn't live in the past.
I haven't even turned the page.
No, I noticed. No annotation, nothing.
No, nothing. But like the Titans-Rams, that's a game, isn't it? Titans versus Rams, that's going to be a hell of a game. Packers-Chiefs.
Texans-Dolphins.
Yeah, both 1-7. But if the Chiefs lose that game, like that their season is starting to
that's not. I don't think that's an if.
No, I think they'll lose that comfortably.
It's at home. But
so they've lost a lot at home this season.
The Giants are going to lose to the Raiders. But there's some good games.
Well, Raiders off the bye.
Raiders
off the bye.
We'll get to it in a minute. Right.
I just want to say it's so fun watching the roller coaster thing of supporting the 49ers.
It is. Well,
Sack Shanahan, we might make the playoffs.
Jimmy G's awful. He's brilliant this week.
To be fair to Gary, he never said sack.
Never said sack him. I just said he's not the fucking Messiah.
He's a very naughty boy.
He's a very good boy.
Moving on, we are heading to Blowout Corner, which used to be behind the bike sheds, I think. Anyway, what a shoddy shower of shite these losers were. Behind Gary's shed. Anyway, is that how you lost 2 fence panels? Rams 38, Texans 22. This was 38-0 in the fourth quarter. And then the Rams stopped playing all their starters, just marched everyone off the field and let the Texans get 22 points.
Which is somebody who has the Rams defense in fantasy.
must have been really annoying.
Fucking livid.
Yeah, the Texans just did nothing.
They've got no one.
The Texans are the worst team in football right now. They are the worst team in football.
Yeah.
Just man for man. Even when you bring Tyrod back, they're still the worst team in football.
Even including the Lions?
Yeah.
Yeah, but you just look over the course of the season, the Lions have actually been better in most of their games, but unless anyone's got anything to add on... Oh, by the way, the Rams have signed Von Miller, everyone. As if that team needed to get better on defense.
They've already
Miller.
They already lead the league in sacks.
8 Pro Bowls in 11 years.
Yeah.
Von Miller.
And Von Miller's not had a great year to date. But when you put him in a defensive line with Aaron Donald and
the 2 players who've had
Floyd, we're 8 games in. He's got 5.5 sacks.
With Jalen Ramsey, it's just not fair.
It's just not fair. He looked devastated, by the way, to be traded away. They had a film of him driving off in the back of an SUV.
I'm sure
he was gutted. He didn't want to go.
No, I'm sure
he'd be furious going to LA to win the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
It must be awful.
Yeah, but this is a guy who... It's a bit like JJ Watt leaving the Texans. You never thought it would really happen. He is Broncos, face of franchise.
He's the face of franchise. He's the MVP from Super Bowl 50. Like, he's just brilliant. And
it's like Ray Lewis leaving the Ravens.
Exactly.
It's true.
Not in handcuffs.
Yeah.
He does live in LA, though.
Yeah, I know, but you could see that he was shocked. Like, this was clearly not something they discussed. But he hadn't asked to leave.
You think about it, he's going to meet the happiest man in the world, the Rams GM.
Yeah.
Later this week. And that man's going to have so much positivity, he could sell ice to the Eskimos this week.
Didn't Sean McVay, like, when somebody said, "Oh, you've just signed Von Miller," he was like, "Did we? We signed Von Miller. Like, no one had really told him it was definitely happening either. I just think they chanced their arm, and the Broncos have agreed. They've given up on a second and third round picks for it. Jim did have the draft picks allocated for the Rams remaining up.
I think they've got 4 draft picks in 2022. Their first one's not to the third round,
and then a couple in the 6th and the 7th.
One third round pick, 1 5th round pick, and 2 7th round picks.
But they've got all the players.
Yeah, this is who the Rams are. They're in win now situation. You know, I think a lot's been made about the last time they made a first round pick. It was Jared Goff. Look how that's ended up. You know, it's how they. It's how they built their team. It's not through the draft. It's through free agency and trading. They're exchanging their draft picks for guaranteed players.
And if you're gonna, finish in the top 10 teams every year, you're going to be picking 22 to 32.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So what value are they?
So at the end of the day, they've given up 2 first-round picks for Matt Stafford, who we know is a good quarterback. The 49ers have given up 3 first-round picks for Trey Lance. I think Trey Lance would be good. I like it. But I know what I'd prefer right now.
Yeah, absolutely. I know what I'd prefer right now. You can't trade for that. Right, Eagles 44.
You can get it in a place you just spoke about.
yeah, blow out a corner.
Speak to Robert Kraft
Eagles 44, Lions 6. This was comfortably the Lions' worst performance of the season.
If I'd have known that, I'd have had the funeral march ready to play.
I'm
Jesus
sorry. This was
Christ.
How do you lose by 38 points to the Eagles, who are shit?
I like how the shine's coming off Dan Campbell as well. It's like, he's scrappy. He's trying his hardest.
It's just they've just got nothing. I tried to find something good to say about them this week. I've tried every week. There was nothing. Honestly, there was nothing.
I like the colour blue.
I do like their shirts. That Honolulu blue, it's called, the shade. They've also lost Taylor Decker and Frank Ragnow to injury. So.
This was the Eagles' largest road margin of victory since when?
18 years ago.
Yeah, it's got to be an Andy Reid left.
No.
Yeah, they won the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
No.
No, it's longer than that.
We're talking way back.
Randall Cunningham time.
Imagine if some of us at this table weren't alive.
1974.
1981.
Only me then.
Yeah. Never mind. There's just not a lot else you can say. The Lions didn't turn up, and the Eagles had their best game of the season because the Lions didn't turn up.
And Jalen Hurts continues to look better.
No,
and
he
better.
doesn't.
He looks okay.
He got 44 points.
He looks good. He does
He
look
had
good.
14 pass attempts, 103 yards, and yes, he had 71 rushing yards. But it's the Lions. Come on,
Would you take Tua or Jalen Hurts?
Tua,
Why?
Hurts.
Why?
because Tua's the better quarterback in the long run.
Is he?
Yes,
How do you know?
because Jalen Hurts is relying on his legs. He's going to get destroyed sooner.
I know who John would take. John would take Tua. I think Tua's a better quarterback, but I also think he's more likely to get injured. Jalen Hurts bounces off people.
I think in this league, the way it is now, Lamar Jackson, people say can't pass the ball as well, and
Lamar Jackson's improved his pass.
He has, but then can Hurts not improve his?
Yeah, I agree. I would probably take Jalen Hurts.
I think there's more franchises that would be interested in Hurts if he came up than Tua.
Based on the tape so far, Jalen Hurts.
Absolutely disagree.
Jim hates Jalen.
Do you want to lose your temper and insult everyone at the table?
No.
Right, well then you're not being me.
He's
Fuck you.
Right.
When it comes to MVP, he's a contender.
No. No, he's not even in the conversation.
Seahawks, Geno Smith, 31. Jags, 7. Geno's first win since 2014.
He also now leads the league in the most completed passes at the start of a game. He went to at least 12, didn't he?
12. I think it was 14.
Oh, was it 14?
13 or 14. Yeah, I think it was 14 to start a game. Yeah, this was very impressive from Geno because he was playing the Jags. The Jags are toilet. Urban
Stop
Meyer.
asking a rookie quarterback to throw it 54 times, you prick.
Robinson's injured as well, so
Which doesn't help.
Doesn't help.
Urban Meyer just doesn't belong at this level.
Just
I make no apologies for it. John and I hit this before the season started. Jim's now he's driving the bus. He didn't get on and bought a ticket.
so angry because the team it could be so good, but it's being so badly coached. It's not true.
He's going to be there next year.
He's not going to be there next year.
I really don't think he can be. I know Shad Khan
He does not fire them that quickly.
I know Shad
doesn't,
Khan's
but
come
he
out
should.
and said, we're sticking with him, but it's just so bad.
as well, when you score, if you're not going to go for 2 points, then why do the onside kick? which just made no fucking...
No.
Yeah, I mean, I know the Seahawks scored, I know that is, but it just... There's a lot of things that make you think, I don't think this guy's got a fucking clue.
He hasn't.
Gino has bought himself another couple of years in the league as a backup, right?
Yeah.
Like, he's played okay. His connections to DK Metcalf have been really good.
What a touchdown as well.
Yeah, what a touchdown.
At the same time, he's playing the worst team in the NFL last year.
You know what? I watched the documentary about the catch, the America's game.
Yes, yeah.
Last week randomly, and then DK Metcalf did that at the weekend, and it was just amazing.
He's an incredible player. Gino, he's not the worst backup in the league. Like, it's fine. It works. They play the same system as they use for Russell Wilson, and that's what makes a good backup quarterback. Anybody got anything to add on the games?
No.
I just wanted to give... I've spent so long in Cleveland frowns saying the backup quarterbacks are dog shit. I'd like to retract my comments based on this week.
Some of them are dog shit. This week's batch were particularly good.
Cooper Rush is someone I mentioned for being a terrible backup.
Yeah, you did.
Prove me wrong. Mike White. Prove me wrong. Geno Smith. Prove me wrong.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Colt McCoy's got next week to prove me right.
Yeah, I think he's done all the proving in the past. Trade deadline day roundup, there was practically nothing happened while we sat here. No. Like Jim, I agree. I think teams are looking and thinking, we've got extra games to make up the difference. We don't have to go trading. The trades that actually happened were quite big. Don't forget we had Zach Ertz last week, and then we had Von Miller this week.
Ingram did well for the Saints this week.
Mark Ingram to the Saints, Melvin Ingram to the Steelers.
I really
from
thought
the
it was
Steelers
Melvin Gordon you wrote earlier. It made way more sense. I just saw Melvin and just thought, well, they needed a running back.
I think that's a great signing by the Chiefs. They absolutely need to start getting some pressure on opposing quarterbacks. And he was so unhappy at the Steelers. He was playing 26% of the snaps. He's a Pro Bowl player. That's not right.
He was a Pro Bowl player.
Yeah, but he could be. I genuinely think
it's been a couple of years since he's been up to that level. I think, you've
Pro Bowl contender.
Pro Bowl contender. Thank you. Anything else on the trades that anyone wants to mention?
I just thought it was interesting seeing Deshaun Jackson cut.
Yeah, he basically asked to be released. He was about the fifth choice receiver.
Van Jefferson's just playing really well there. He's taken that role.
34 now, Deshaun Jackson.
Yeah, but all you got to do is run 60 yards and do that.
If I was him, I would have stayed just to try and pick up the Super Bowl ring.
Did he get an 80-yard touchdown this season?
He's had one long touchdown.
He's had one 80 or more yard touchdown for 7 or 8 straight years.
I'm not sure if it is 80 yards, but he definitely had one long touchdown.
I think somebody will give him a chance, but he may be unemployed for a few weeks.
Well, the Falcons need a wide receiver.
Yeah, they could do.
They've hardly got one.
Yeah, no,
Phil Stretcher in place of Calvin Ridley. Absolutely.
They haven't got anybody else.
Yeah. No, that's very true.
Jalen Smith leaving the Packers is interesting as well.
Yeah, so I haven't seen a reason for this.
I don't know.
Is it just injuries, or has he failed a physical? Is John thinks he's a dickhead? I don't. That's a great indication down the table there, John. Thank you very much. Chuckling away to himself. Yes, he did. That's exactly what he did. No one can see that. Of course, that's what he did. I am surprised that Deshaun Watson didn't move, but perhaps that'll be the end of it now. We can stop talking about it.
And I'm not, because with everything going on, it's like, it would have been a stupid move to make for any team, I think.
I just think the fact that
you're not going to give anything up for a 34-year-old wide receiver, are you? You might take him off waivers.
Deshaun Watson.
Oh, sorry.
Fuck me.
I wasn't listening.
Next week, we're going to do the podcast with my nan here, and we'll get a better response. Tuesday.
Paul's just as bad.
No.
You remember that two Ronnie sketch where they answer the question?
Anyway, Melvin Ingram. I think I thought the Texans would move him on, but I just think because the NFL refused to clarify what they would do, no one wanted to take the risk.
Yeah, I think they definitely tried, but to your point, I don't think
he will never play for the Texans, so somebody will have to take him.
He just needs to settle.
Yeah.
Then he can take his 4-game suspension and crack on with his career.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wrongly, John will tell me that's the most immoral thing that he's ever heard.
Oh,
that's not the most immoral thing he's ever heard.
I only realised now he had a no trade clause in his contract.
Yeah.
He gets to choose.
Yeah. Only agreed to waive it only for the Dolphins.
Yeah.
And an immoral man going to Miami.
Exactly. There are
allegedly
lots
of
massage parlours in Miami, I should imagine. I've never been.
We'll have to ask Robert Kraft.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to mention before?
Yeah. Roger Goodell's compensation for the last 2 years? Anyone want to take a guess how much he got paid?
25 mil.
No, way more. 65 mil.
$75 million.
Sorry, for the last 2 years.
$112 million.
$127.8 million. Over 2 years, that is more than any player in the NFL.
That's a salary cap.
That is the salary cap, yeah.
All he does is turn up at draft night in his little bunker.
Just try and turn up and get booed.
That's mental.
I used to turn up at home after I've been at work all day and get booed by my wife, and she never paid me that much money. That's fucking terrible.
Yeah. I think if you Peter King's column yesterday, he had for one season, you could afford Patrick Mahomes, Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, and Aaron Donald.
Perhaps Goodell does own them all. That's what's happening.
So, yeah.
Crazy.
Nice work.
He's not made a decision since Zeke.
No. He could do with doing something about Washington, though.
Yeah. We do have some sad news to end on, so we're going to mention it briefly and then see what unfurls during the week. Henry Ruggs has been arrested for DUI after potentially causing a fiery collision in which someone has died. It appears that he may be intoxicated, which would be the second Raiders player this season, because Josh Jacobs was also arrested for this, but he was then released when he passed the second breathalyzer test.
Not to split hairs, but Josh Jacobs didn't result in the death of another person.
No, of course. But it's worth mentioning because it's going to be big news, but it's happening as we're sitting here, so we're not in a position to comment. But we should say this is awful tragedy for somebody.
Initially, it doesn't look good on any account. Until we know more, I think you're right. I think we should comment other than saying, absolute horrible news.
I don't like to leave things a low point. But,
Roger Goodell, but 127 million in 2 years.
Yeah.
We'd like to play a game of guess who Von Miller's old roommate was. He moved him into his house in Los Angeles.
Old roommate?
He probably has also been done for DUI.
Somebody who's on the Rams, then?
Nope.
Oh.
Somebody's on the Broncos?
He has not played for the Rams or the Broncos.
Is he a current player?
He might be playing in no, he won't be because he's everyone hates him.
Everyone hates him.
Pac-Man Jones.
Nope. He is a quarterback. He's a quarterback.
Oh, a quarterback everyone hates.
Everyone hates.
Tebow.
Nope.
I hate Tebow.
People don't hate Tebow, do they?
Urban Meyer loves Tebow.
Quarterback.
He was a first-round draft pick.
Brady Quinn.
Jamarcus Russell.
He played for the Browns.
That doesn't narrow it down.
Johnny Manziel.
Johnny Manziel.
Johnny Manziel.
I've got no idea what the question was.
Used to live with...
I wasn't listening.
Johnny Manziel used to live with Von Miller.
Yeah. They were both at Texas A&M together, weren't they?
Both at Texas A&M, and then when Von Miller moved out to LA, I think he moved Johnny Manziel out with him.
There you go. Anyway, speaking of quarterbacks, Nate Peterman got released by the Raiders. End on that.
That is a great place to end. Record-setting Nate Peterman. I mean, honestly, that's one of the funniest debuts I've ever seen. And occasionally I do go back and watch that because it was amazing.
On those days when you're feeling low, sling that game tape on.
I'm not Nate Peterman. Oh, well, there we go. Right, thank you very much for listening, apart from Gary, who clearly hasn't been. And we'll be back next week to review Week 9. Thank you.
Sorry.
And good night.